The best aspect of being a camera operator has got to be the sort of physical one-to-one with the camera and creating a shot that the director has in his mind's eye, let's say, and you have to decipher the nuances of what he wants from what he's brought or read from the script and make that practical.
Well, you're always helping the director achieve their vision. A lot of it is just listening to your directors, watching your actors. You're often given a task, so you've set your camera, whether it be a track, and you know you've got various actors coming at various times. Largely it is just letting it all play out, so when something's rehearsed, you get to sort of get a feel for how it's all going and which is the best place to put yourself in order to tell that story.
I enjoyed the buzz of being on set. I like the creativity, working with different directors of photography. Some people like to dictate where you put the camera, and other people will give you more of a free rein and ask you to sort of put your creativity into it.
It is completely different from working on a single drama where you're working with the same DOP and director for maybe 3 or 4 months. It makes it certainly more interesting in a way because everybody's got a different approach to how they work and you just adapt to that, really.
The creativity is always there, but often you do work to instruction and then try and build on that idea. So even though the idea might be given to you, your duty is still to keep improving on that idea and keep it going.
When I frame a shot, you watch the scene, you read the words, you try and appreciate the location you're in, which can be often either geographical or light-driven. And then you start from the beginning. You start usually from a shot that encompasses the whole scene, and then you break it down into sections that will cover the people involved or the story involved in that scene.
I look for strong shots, good, nice compositions, but it's no good having a nice composition if you're not telling the story.
The story is the key thing, isn't it? You know, let's just say it's a sad character or an angry character. You would immediately start finding your frame would just be heavier or harder or lower, or the mood of the actor will also just draw you to frame the camera in a slightly different way. So sometimes it's not just a signature style that you might have, it's what's happening in front of you which just draws your eye to land the frame in a certain way.
I think it's very much an instinct thing, be it a long shot or a mid shot or a close-up. It's just a question of getting the right balance. There's no hard and fast rules to it, really.
If a shot is wrong, it's more obvious than if a shot is right. It just doesn't sit. However, there are no rules, and sometimes if you search around, it becomes very interesting. I would say the greatest challenge we've come across on Game of Thrones is probably the terrain for us. Yes, we shoot some very beautiful photographs, or at least I hope we do, but to get the cameras into those positions and to overcome the challenges and still make it look fantastic and great, that's the big thing.
Wind, rain, heat. Often these locations are dusty and gritty, so the gear is always having to be sort of carefully looked after. The chances are we'll have a lot of horses or a fight sequence, so we're going to generate more dust. As well as that, we'll probably put lots of fire aspects in. There'll probably be lots of special effects guys with big fans throwing grit through them to even make it even worse. So whatever the environment is, we tend to sort of enhance it to make it more exciting visually. But as a result, it's quite punishing on the crews.
It's tough. It's working a lot of the time in rain and mud with the camera covered up in plastic and us on Gore-Tex out in all weathers. And little things like changing a filter becomes a major deal. I have to say that all the camera assistants and the grips do a fantastic job, and they make my job much easier.
It's really that understanding that what you see on the monitors or what you see through the eyepiece of the cameras, that really is the work of absolutely everyone on the crew. For me, it's the most important thing that's recognised and that people really sort of appreciate that it takes absolutely every member of this crew for that to happen and it be as good as it is.
Over the 6 seasons, my experience on Game of Thrones has been quite extraordinary. It's given me such an exciting amount of challenges. Crane work, Steadicam, handheld. It's just been extraordinary. I've been so very, very lucky, and I will look back on it in the years to come with great pride.
The camera operator is almost the best seat in the house. You are right at the front. Anything that happens, that camera's moved by you, and you're then with your actors. And often if their performance is extraordinary, which is quite regular on this show, then you really are drawn in and really in a fantastic place to be part of that. Best seat in the house, it really is.
Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. Surprise, surprise, there's new Game of Thrones Season 6 footage. They wind up showing off a couple big scenes, so this is going to be a breakdown, so just careful for spoilers for potential Season 6 stuff. Some of this is going to be speculation, some of it's pretty obvious. If you guys didn't see my last Game of Thrones video too, there's a new round of the giveaway that's going on now for the Season 5 DVD. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this video. I'll just be doing that as my weekly giveaway for the next couple of weeks. First big image, Jack and Hagar in the House of Black and White cleaning another body. They used the House of Black and White for that big teaser. They have all these posters. Now one that was for WTF effect, just to say anybody on the show could die. All men must die. The second reason they probably use that as a teaser is because the many-faced God and the teachings of the Faceless Men are probably going to continue to be a very big thing throughout the season. So as Arya learns to live without her sight and learns more about the culture of the Faceless Men, we'll just get to see more and more from the Temple of Black and White. I can't wait. It's one of the most interesting new places on the show. Moving back to Westeros, we're way up in the north here. You can see the snow on the ground. There's a large army in the background, and some of them have Stark leather on. It looks like Ned Stark's armor, so they could be Karstarks, they could be Stark loyalists. I'm hoping just in terms of scale, the second Battle of Winterfell during Season 6 reminds us a lot of Hardhome during Season 5. Just big WTF battle, crazy action, gets nominated for a bunch of awards because it melts everyone's brains. Moving along, we see flayed men soldiers. You can see the banner flowing up in the wind up here, probably from that same battle. Next, we have a couple Winterfell scenes that they're filming. The two young boys here might be from a Winterfell flashback, from this Three-Eyed Raven flashback here, where Bran and the Three-Eyed Raven are just looking at something. This could be a young Ned Stark sparring with his older brother, Brandon. If you look in the background too, you can see they're flying the Stark banner, so this is not happening in present day, because in present day, the Boltons hold Winterfell and the flayed men banners are hung everywhere. Brandon Stark is someone that we've heard about, but we haven't seen yet. He was killed by the Mad King along with their father, Rickard Stark, in one of the events that led to the beginning of Robert's Rebellion. The story behind that's pretty cool. The Mad King had Brandon tied up so that he couldn't reach his weapon and was roasting his father, Rickard Stark, over a fire. So Ned's father, Rickard, died from being burned alive. Brandon died because he choked himself trying to reach his sword to save his father from being burned alive. So big WTF, don't know if we're ever going to see it on the TV show. Back to Meereen, we see Daario and Ser Jorah running through the streets. There are a couple other scenes with harpies, so it looks like the harpies are just going to continue to be a big problem for them. Don't know if the show's going to do bloody flux, but that's one of the other big problems they face in the books. It's a really disgusting disease, so the show might just sidestep that and use the harpies as internal Meereen problems to be solved. There are external problems for Meereen too. Here's a bunch of Dothraki sitting around, Daenerys walking around their encampment, Sir Jaime on the ship on his way back to King's Landing with Myrcella's body. This almost looks like Meera Reed north of the wall, but not quite. I can't quite tell. The resolution's just a little too blurry, so you can decide whether or not you think this is Meera on her own. But presumably, if Bran is going to be training with the Three-Eyed Raven, then her primary duties will be foraging for food, unless Bran has some other task that he needs help with. Going south to the wall, this looks like Melisandre staring into the flames. I'm really hoping we get a Melisandre vision. She's one of the few characters that has visions in the books, but we haven't seen that on the show yet. The show's just skipped over those. There's a shot of Tyrion walking through frame. So the big takeaway is that there's going to continue to be a bunch of battles in Meereen. They're probably going to be filming it in different ways, so even though we've been to Meereen before, we'll see parts of it that we haven't seen before. Big battle in the north, flashbacks, and some stuff happening beyond the wall. They didn't include anything from the White Walker unit, the unit that films the White Walker stuff from last year. They were filming stuff for the end of Season 6, so there's going to be some kind of White Walker stuff. We just don't know what it's going to look like yet. There are largely two big film units that film all the Game of Thrones scenes. There's the Dragon unit and the Wolf unit, but there's also a White Walker unit just for filming White Walker stuff. Hardhome last year was a good example of an episode where they needed a lot of extra work because it was so big. Normally the scenes beyond the wall that they filmed in the past were relatively small, only involved a couple people. But as the army of White Walkers moves south towards the wall, the stuff that they do around the wall will get bigger and bigger and bigger. So let me know in the comments, what's your favorite part of this, and do you really like bonus features like this, or do you just like traditional trailers? They're probably going to drop the first big trailer when the DVD drops in about 2 weeks, so what they might do before then is just post more stuff like this. Which actually reminds me, giveaway time. Congratulations to yesterday's giveaway winner, Jake Rabaska. You win a copy of the Season 5 DVD or Blu-ray. Just be sure to private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. Just in case you guys haven't seen it, George R. R. Martin was teasing a big twist that the books are going to do that we won't get to see on the show. You can click here for my video from that, and you can click here for all my other Game of Thrones teaser videos. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.